Welcome back to the Prepared School Psych podcast. I am joined today by Emily Prissel. After nearly 10 years as a classroom teacher, Emily realized something important. She could recognize when students were facing learning barriers, but she didn't have the tools to address them effectively. Even in a supportive district, she saw that the systems in place weren't meeting every student's needs. That's what led her to pursue a career in school psychology. Since then, she's been guided by strong mentors, taken on leadership roles, and returned to the same school where she once taught, this time in a role where she's driving meaningful change. Now serving as the president of the Wisconsin School Psychologists Association, Emily continues to focus on what matters most: understanding the needs of students, asking better questions, and helping shape stronger support systems for schools and families. Emily, I'm so glad to have you here as a guest on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Well, we like to kick off our guest questions with what is your favorite TV show you are watching right now?
I don't get to watch a lot of TV, not because I'm too exciting or something for that, but because my kids are young. So it's usually, Bluey or Sesame Street. But I do love Ghosts and Abbott Elementary are kind of my go-to right now. And I end up kind of binging multiple episodes at a time when I get to sit down and watch. But those are both great kind of sitcoms right now that I love. A nice, lighthearted, something to take my mind off of other things when I get to watch.
Nice. Although I have to admit, every once in a while I'm watching Abbott Elementary and I'm like, that's not how it works. Or
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But
good.
yes,
Every once
yeah.
in a while I'm just like, no, they would refer that to the school psychologist. Yes.
I know they don't have the school psychologist representation on there, but maybe that's good because it would really get us, right? Because no one really knows. Well, right.
Well, in one sentence, how would your colleagues describe you as a school psych?
I think they would describe me as curious and kind of seeking, as you said in that introduction. I really want to learn more. I'm constantly trying to learn more. And I always tell them I don't have answers. I only do questions. So when they come to me with concerns about a student or concerns about their classroom or whatever it is, I'm kind of just digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And sometimes that is kind of the aha moment. Sometimes it is, then, okay, we're going to go through a process. We're going to do some assessments. We're going to get a lot of data. But I try to really assure everyone and reaffirm what they're doing. But I am going to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. You're never going to come to me and I'm going to say, oh, well, I will just wave my magic special ed wand and we will fix that. I'm going to go deeper and deeper with those questions and with students too. Like, tell me more. Tell me more. How can we do this? What's another way? So I think they know that if they come to me, they better be prepared for a conversation about it because we are going to dig in and just question everything.
I love that perspective so very much. I am curious, how do teachers who maybe don't work with you often, how do they react when a lot of times teachers are coming to us and they would love for us to wave that magic wand and instead you're coming at with additional questions? What is that reaction like?
Sometimes we do have to kind of regulate the adult before we can get to those things. Oftentimes when they are coming to me, it's because they are frustrated. They have done all of the things they know how to do. So it is that time of validating and affirming and kind of getting them to whatever it is. Maybe it's not even I'm going with the questions that same day yet. I'm first just going, oh, that sounds terrible. Let me come observe. That's kind of like one of my things. Let me observe to feel like there's something there. And then there's a starting point for my questions as well. And we get there. I do, as you said, I have the benefit of being a classroom teacher and then going back to that school that I was at. So a lot of them, I have pre-existing relationships and they know I've been there in the trenches with them. And so we can really kind of get to different things to try. We have a fantastic team at my building of different teachers and things. So we can get there. But yes, a lot of times it is regulating that adult first and getting past the frustration to a point of what can we do about that rather than just circling the problem and getting deeper into frustration.
Yeah.
I'm not the one to go to if you want to doom spiral. We're not going to go there.
But I love how you did say, first, we're going to validate. These are frustrating feelings that they're having about the student. So let's do that first before I start launching into that discovery mode of figuring this out.
Yeah.
Well,
But I do really believe that kids can do well. That kind of Ross Green style of kids do well when they can.
Absolutely.
And we are the adults. So what can we do and change? And there's a lot of things we can't control, but what can we do to make it even that 1% better for everyone?
I love that. Well, you did bring up the classroom teacher piece, that you're being back at your school site. How did your experience in the classroom shape you as a school psychologist?
I think it's done everything for me. And I was actually a gen ed teacher. I think a lot of teachers that, go into school psych are on the special ed end. So I knew very little about special education, law, reading IEPs, reading evaluation reports, any of these things. So it was a large learning curve. But I do have that experience of these are things I've done in the classroom. I have felt this in the classroom. I have had 300 students a year and done all of these things. I've felt that frustration. I've been there with you, and different things that we can kind of try when we're trying an intervention or something and they say, oh, I can't, I'm just overwhelmed. I'm like, I know, but I also know how you can do it because this is what I did in my classroom. Oh, by the way, I was also going to grad school full time and having my second baby, and then COVID ended up. It's like, we can do this. We can do this. I also think that I have a good understanding. Like when I am in an IEP meeting, even if I'm LEA, I can be talking about goals and things because I really know what's going on with those academic standards at this level. What are the things we should be expecting from kids? What are accommodations that we can make on a classroom teacher level versus maybe what's more a modification that we might need a co-taught class? So all of those things too really inform how I work with kids and teens in all of the ways. And like you said in that introduction, it's really what got me here.
Yeah.
So we have great teachers. We have such passionate people. We have great administration. We have all of these people working so hard. But for some of these kids, it's just still not working. So I have seen that. I've worked really, really hard as a teacher and with some amazing teachers and curriculum writers and assessment and all of these things. So if something's not working, that's where I really want to step in. And I believe that we can get there, but some of it is beyond that classroom teacher. And it takes more of us on the team to do it.
Well, at what point in your journey from classroom teacher, school psychologist, you talked about COVID in there too, where did you get involved in your state association?
So I got involved right away. I had been a student member when I was in grad school and was kind of our student representative. I didn't feel very connected to our state association, but my first practicum supervisor was very involved. And she was actually the WISPA president right before me. So she was like, hey, come to these things. We want your voice on this. I think you'd be great for this piece. And then kind of looped me right into running for the presidency there, but knowing that she would continue to support me in my first year of that and beyond. So having those great mentors and people that were involved as well. But it was from the jump. I was involved in state leadership.
It's so interesting because I get the perspective to be able to talk to so many association presidents. And what you were sharing is a theme, not everyone, but number one, so many people get in at that student level. And so for any students who are listening, just that little piece of being able to connect in some sort of way. And I find it so interesting how often people talk about that rise in leadership is one person seeing something within you and just kind of asking, is this something that you might be interested in? Versus someone who's like just wandering into the scene and saying, I want to be president.
Yeah, yes. I don't think there's many of us that are like, you know what I would be great at. So, yes, it kind of takes that person seeing it in you and pushing you and supporting you because that's huge as well.
Well, as a state association president, what have been some of your key initiatives? What are you really passionate about working on?
There are so many things going on in our state and with our students and with our families that I am just really passionate on what can we do as an association to support our members. As with many states, we in Wisconsin, we have the gamut of very small rural communities to large metropolitan cities that we are supporting. Those psychs need very different things for support. Some of them, can travel and go to our big conferences. Some of them can maybe get an hour away for a virtual session or those types of things. So really trying to find out what those needs are and get people the things that are most useful to them as we go, and in an ever-changing jobscape and education and all of these things, continuing to keep things updated and support in all of the ways. We, like many state associations, have a lobbyist. So we are working on that kind of judicial end of things. We have, a social justice team that is always going for how can we infuse the things that we find as values throughout everything that we do. And then ongoing education for psychs and getting things that are really useful to them in their positions, no matter what that might look like across the state. So just continuing to find ways to support people and get that support to them in a way that feels feasible.
I love that. Is there any specific accomplishments in your role that you are most proud of?
So I have kind of a very concrete one and then kind of more abstract. So when I kind of took on the presidency piece, we have 2 conventions a year typically, one in the fall, one in the spring in person. And we have a very small budget for speakers and hotels and all of those types of things. But when we first started talking about it and like pie in the sky, my dream was to have Dr. Byron McClure come and speak. And I clearly annoyed people enough with that. Some of the great team around me, shout out to Carrie Silke, who annoyed Byron McClure as much as possible, and he is coming to speak at our fall convention next year.
Right.
And I am so excited for that to happen because he is an amazing speaker and just has done so much. But I think that he's got some really great things for us, everything from, AI to strengths-based approaches to mediating difficulties and restorative practices in the schools. Like, I am just so excited for him to come speak to us. And so that was kind of my I said I wanted this and we are doing it. Yes, right? We did it. We did it. The more kind of abstract is every 5 years we have a new goal and plan for us. And as I was kind of coming into the presidency, it was just happened to be a time that a lot of people that had been on the board for a long time were retiring, stepping back, all of those things. So we have a very young board right now that has not been involved in state association for as long. And we're coming up on our 5-year plan right now. So I am very proud of the work that we are doing to, again, this goes back to my questioning thing, but why do we do the things that we do? Is this still serving us? Is this still serving our members? And if it's not, what's a better way to do things? So we are really kind of digging in deeply and blowing some things up, not just doing it the way we've always done it, because that's the way we've always done it, but really going back to, is this serving our members? Is this serving the students, the families, the communities that they support? And if it's not, we got to look at it in a different way. And down to, are we using the funds that our members give us for membership dues appropriately? Are we doing things that are supporting every psych across the state? What are the things that the people that aren't members, we're not giving them yet so we can do that? So we're really digging in and restructuring things. And it's scary when you do that, but I really think it's going to be good for our state and all of the communities we serve. So I'm really proud of the work that so many people have put into doing this that is going to set us up for a great next 5 years and beyond.
Well, I commend you and your team for that because I've been part of those conversations in my state association. And I know that is a lot of work. And I love the perspective going back to what we started with, that questioning piece. Instead of just saying, let's just mix it up to mix it up, or like the questions that you were asking, how are we using? Is this the best way? Leads to some broader conversations where I think in some places where, I've been part of places where this is just how we do it. And it takes a moment to really step back and say, is this the right way to do it now? Because that
Mhm.
could have been great 5 years ago. That could have been great 10 years ago. But this is an ever-changing world and ever-changing field that we're in, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to pause and really question, is this the best use of our time, our energy, our funds? So I really commend you and your team on that.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. There are some things that do still work that way. And the reason
Absolutely.
that we had is still the right reason. But yeah, we gotta ask those questions.
Before we continue, school psychs, counselors, and behavior specialists When it comes to supporting neurodivergent students, are your strategies truly neurodiversity affirming? The new Making the Switch webinar series from Blooming Brains Educational Psychology is designed to help you move beyond outdated methods and provide meaningful, research based support to neurodivergent students. This on demand 5 hour professional development series covers essential topics including writing counseling goals that lead to real progress, effective executive functioning strategies, neurodiversity affirming behavior supports and FBAs, and counseling techniques tailored for neurodivergent students. This isn't just another webinar, it's a practical, evidence based approach designed specifically for school based professionals. Access the full series today for only $99. You can learn more and register at bloomingbrains.org/webinar. That's bloomingbrains.org/webinar, or you can find the registration link in the show notes of this episode. And with that, let's jump back into our conversation. Well, many school psychologists want to become more involved, but it is a time commitment. You talked about many different roles. You were obviously good about juggling all these different balls in the air. How do you manage your time and make it all work?
A huge piece of it is the community that I have around me, from our family to the other people in the state association. So I had told you earlier, my kids today are over at grandma's house. So, that is a community in and of itself that sometimes I'm like, I have to do work today. I have people that can take them or those types of things. And then also the other people in our association, really working on delegating things out and knowing that people will get them done because there is a lot of tasks to do. I also think that, we are working more and more on having what we call micro volunteerism. So having ways to get involved with the association that is maybe not the presidency, which is going to be
Yes.
a lot of a time commitment or even a board member, but ways that you can kind of dip your toe in and say, hey, I'm interested in this, but I don't know what it is. I don't know these people yet, so I don't necessarily trust them that they're going to be able to follow through on all the things I'm asking for. Our state association, I'm sure all of them say this, but we are so fun. Like, I love being with these people. They are my mentors. They are my support. They are my friends. So I do feel that way. But yeah, if I didn't know any of them, feeling and coming in and taking on a board position would not necessarily feel as supported yet. So we're working on those ways of like, come to a meeting, come to our long range planning in the summer, write an article, talk to people, print off the name tags for convention. That could be a 2 time a year micro volunteer thing that takes 20 minutes. But hey, now you've met some people on convention committee and you can start to do those things. So really trying to get ways to be involved that don't take a huge time commitment. And then that kind of balances all the things for everyone until the point that some of these things, they do just take time. So it's balancing the things I have to get done at work, the support with my children, all of those things as well. And that comes with time as well. I haven't been in this role for a long time, but I did teach and I did all of the things. So learning some of those things, and it takes time, but it is possible to get there, and prioritizing some of those things that you find the most valuable.
Yeah. I remember my very first role on my local affiliate, not quite our state association. And I, again, got invited to a meeting and someone said, would you like to take on this role? And it's called Political Action Committee. And I said, that sounds great. What do I do on this committee? And they were like, there's someone at the state association you can talk to. And that's how I became part of that committee. It's just these little links that you never know. And then I learned a lot about our legislative group. I learned a lot.
Yeah, which is fascinating.
Absolutely. I remember my very first meeting taking notes on all the words people said that I had no idea what they were saying. And I'm like, I'm going to have to go look these up later. Yeah. Because I don't want to look like I don't know. I'm going to nod, but I have no idea what any of you were talking about.
Exactly. Yes. Fake it till you make it.
Exactly. Well, reflecting back when you were a first-year school psychologist, what advice would you give to someone who's starting out in this field?
I think it is just try to experience a lot of different things. I have a practicum student right now, and that is kind of what I keep talking to her about is like, hey, why don't you go talk to the social worker and
Mm.
see kind of what that looks like and the counselors. And I want you to do some testing and do some observations, but also like, let's go in a classroom and just be a part of this. What do you like as a school psychologist?
Mhm.
How do you want to shape your role to different things? And getting involved with those different things and up to and including the state association pieces, of course. I have always felt that it's really hard to give criticism or judgment of the things around us if we are not willing to put in some work to make it what we think it needs to be. So I am not one to just sit back and criticize and say, oh, I wish they would do that. My advice is always, well, get on there and tell them that. We don't know the perspectives we don't know.
Mhm.
So we want to hear from people and just kind of getting involved in those things and giving them some different perspectives and whatabouts, and whether that's your school, your district, and the state level, but getting involved in whatever you can feasibly, right? Let's not overextend ourselves here,
Right.
but get involved in those things and just have a voice in places that you can. And as you've mentioned, then you just continue to make those connections and see what is the right path for you and what feels right to continue to make the changes in the way that you think is important.
Well, we've talked about, a lot of times in leadership, someone is the person who's kind of connecting you with someone else. But what if there's a listener who they themselves want to be involved and they don't have that person yet? What kind of advice would you give to someone? Is that micro volunteering that you were discussing? Are there other suggestions that you would give?
Yeah, I think that I've had people just cold email me and say, hey, I want to be involved in the board. What are some things I can do? And we have some ideas. We are on social media and always, putting things out there. Even just like going to your school board meetings, have it so people know your face and your name and you get to know other people's faces and names, making sure that you're seen in the building if you're not to those, big state association levels yet, going out, introducing yourself, seeing what's going on, saying hi to kids in the hallways, whatever it is. It does take a little bit of putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, but that's how we have to meet people. So email and social media, I think, make it pretty easy for the state association pieces. I can't speak for everyone, but I will say I am always happy to get cold emailed of like, what can I come to? What can I do? What are some things I can do? Hey, I saw this social media post. Is that something I can take on?
Mm.
Yes, absolutely. That's what we want. Our board meetings are open to everyone. Our long range plannings in the summer, we have them free. They're paid for and open to everyone because we want all those voices. We want people to be a part of things. So I would say don't be afraid to reach out and just ask, hey, is there a thing I could do? I love to write. Could I write an article for your newsletter? I'm artistic. Could I make one of your social media posts? And we love Canva. We're on there all the time. Could I introduce a speaker at the convention?
Mhm.
Or like, if you have an idea, if you don't have an idea, just cold email and say, this is really something I feel like I'd like to be a part of. What can I do? And I promise you, we will have a list of things for you to do. What's your availability? What does that look like? And we will get you involved because we want people. And we are really trying to reach out to those student leaders at grad schools across the state for exactly that reason. Like, you've indicated at least to your school that you have some interest. So what are those things that we can keep you involved? But we always want people to reach out. I promise we're not scary. It's really fun. It's a good time. You get to know people. And the connections that I have made across the state have been so invaluable to me.
Yeah.
I will get evaluation that I'm struggling with or a student that I don't have the answer for. I don't know what to do. I can reach someone that I know has dealt with something similar
Yeah.
that I can reach out and really get some different perspectives and different things, different tests. My gosh, such a nice connection to be like, I don't have this test. Can someone get me one? And they can. So it's great to have those connections for different things, big and small.
That's wonderful. Well, is there anything else you would like to share or promote about your state association?
I mean, we always want people to be involved, different ideas. If people are interested, certainly to reach out to us. We are undergoing this 5-year plan, so we're getting ready for some listening sessions and surveys to try to get feedback from people. We also love to hear from other state associations in what's going well. If you're near us, if you want to come to our conventions,
Mhm.
again, we've got some really great speakers. I can't talk about the next year out yet, but I promise it's also going to be great. We're doing great. We have Byron McClure coming. So people that are near us can come around. We are working on opening up our virtual sessions to anyone, regardless. You don't have to be a WISPA member to do those things, or even a school psychologist. If your school counselor wants to join in on you with things,
Yeah.
great. We want those things out there. But yeah, so we've gotten to go to the NASP. They changed the name of it this year. It was regional leadership. Now it's national leadership or something. An acronym. We love our
Yeah.
acronyms. But talking to state leaders from other state associations has been huge.
Yeah.
So always love to make those connections as well. And if people have ideas, want to join together on things, whatever it is, we are open to anything that can help psychs in our state and across the country.
I love that. And we will make sure to put a link to your state association's website and any social media links as well, since that's obviously something that you guys are working with very nicely as well. Well, to finish up our conversation today, this podcast is called the Prepared School Psychologist. When you think of that term, what do you do to help yourself feel more prepared in your many roles?
One of the very tangible things, last year I spent my summer learning about Excel and Google Sheets. Like just literally tips and tricks. Shameless plug, WISPA, we have a virtual session on Google Sheets on like how setting up for your eval calendar for the year. And Erica Check, our current treasurer, put that on, and she is a magician. So like I spent the summer setting this up and learning how to use these things. And so now that has paid me with hours this year. All of my evaluations are clean. I know when things are due. I know where I'm at with everything. It's on one page. It's color coded. So things like that are just very, very tangible. I have my planner. I know where all these things are. My home calendar. So I know where my kids are going all the time and all of their activities. I also set myself in my calendar at work time to get the things done that I need to get done, but maybe aren't like with someone else. So I will
Mm,
put time in my calendar that I'm writing reports. I will put time in my calendar when I'm going to observe children.
yeah.
Those types of things that I put in there, partially because I talk a lot. So if I go talk to a teacher quick or someone stops by my office, it will be a 3-hour thing and I won't get anything done. I love people. So I set those times in my calendar to be prepared. At home, we also do things, like we make our lunches the night before, we put out our clothes the night before, we get our backpacks done the night before. All of those things that in the times that I know I'm not at my best before I've had my coffee, we are ready to go. The kids are ready to go. All of those things that just makes life feel a little more smooth and easy to go. And then again, I will give another nod to my team at school because they are amazing and they're really good at supporting and knowing that we're all busy. So
Yeah.
when we get something like a manifestation, my admin is great about being like, I need to give my psych 3 days notice. So those types of things too, to really feel prepared for all of the pieces. And a lot of that is digital, my calendar, my spreadsheet, whatever it is, but making sure I have the things. And then every summer, I give myself kind of an assignment of things that I dig in and work on. This year, it's a little bit of AI and deeply into executive functioning. I've started to go down some of the rabbit hole on learning more about executive function, but I want to know a lot more. And so I know that I will have the time over the summer. And then again, that will pay off next year. I will feel more prepared in going into a lot of these things that this year I've been like, I know what I'm talking about. I know I'm prepared for this, but I feel like I could do more.
Mhm.
So digging in on those things as well when I know I have the time, but I'm not going to let the summer slip away from me. I'm giving myself some assignments and get some things to make next year even better.
I love that idea, and I love the very focused idea too, because I myself, as a school psychologist, so many school psychs that I help support, we have these big ideas that we're gonna do all of this stuff, and I love that you're like, last year it was like Google Sheets and this, like, this is what I'm going to focus on. And I just think that's a really helpful stance because, like you said, we can go down rabbit holes all day long. There's so many different pieces, but setting up those like goals for ourselves that are as specific as possible, I think is amazing. So,
And they do have to be reasonable because you can't, not live your life to do your job either. And yeah, I feel like if you set yourself up for too much, you're always going to feel like you haven't done it. So, I mean, I will not know everything about executive functioning after this summer. Okay, I'm still going to have a lot, but I'm going to know more. I've got some books, some podcasts, some different things that I want to get a little bit more with that. The summers that I can do like actual led things. I love that. I've done the neurosequential model with Dr. Bruce Perry. So some of those things that are like assigned to you are even. But yes, some kind of attainable things that here's my little chunk that I'm going to get better at. And then I feel like I can accomplish that and we'll be ready to go in the fall because I know when the fall hits, I will not be reading as many books or doing as many things, or honestly, even able to take in the information in the same way. It's nice in the summer when you can everything else is a little bit calmer and your brain is ready to take that in. And then during the school year, you don't feel like you're behind all the time.
I love that. I love that. Well, I'm excited for you and your executive function. It's one of my favorite topics. And I don't know if anyone knows everything about executive functioning. And I feel like every year there's new information we are learning. So,
exactly. Yes.
Well, Emily, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story and the work you're doing, not just in your school, but across the state. It's always meaningful to hear from people deeply engaged in this work and willing to reflect on their path. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And to the listeners, wherever you are in your journey, I hope this conversation encouraged you to keep going. The work you're doing matters. You are making a difference even on the hard days. Thanks again for listening to the Prepared School Psych podcast. I will talk to you all next time. That concludes another episode of the Prepared School Psych podcast. And I hope today's discussion equipped you not just with knowledge, but also the confidence to take action. Remember, every conversation we have and every resource we share builds a bridge towards a more inclusive and empowering learning landscape for our students. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast for more insightful conversations and resources to support your journey. Share this podcast with colleagues. We would love it if you would also rate and review the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Just a reminder, everyone, the information and advice provided in this podcast are for guidance purposes only, and all listeners are required to follow both federal and state law and their own school district guidelines and policies. Thank you.